What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel, and as the title of the video suggests, I prefer farming on CT13, challenge tier 13, when I do expeditions, specifically where I'm farming for legendaries, and I would like to share some facts and figures and details and data and all of that with you to show you why that is the case and why I think it's probably the sweet spot when it comes to farming, at the very least for me, and it could very likely be for you as well. So just some explanation basically of what I've essentially done is I created two separate data sets where I farmed for an hour on both sides. So I farmed an hour's worth of as many expeditions as I could squeeze into a CT13, and I also farmed an hour worth of as many expeditions as I could squeeze into a CT15. Now, I have a fairly decently, how can I say, created character with pretty much all of the right mods that I want. I think I have one dead mod, but for both cases, I used exactly the same character. And so therefore, obviously not to pollute the data or anything like that. Now, firstly, let's just discuss the difference between the two from a chance of getting legendary perspective and, you know, the differences that there are. CT13 essentially, in both cases, if you get gold, you get 4 chances at 15% for a legendary and 85% for an epic, and that's on the CT13 side. And on the CT15 side, your legendary chance is increased by 10%, so that goes all the way up to 25% and then 75% chance for epic, and you get 4 chances, 4 rolls at that. So basically, that's really fundamentally from a chances perspective the only difference between the two. But at least for me, the difference in difficulty when it comes to playing a CT13 and a CT15 is that I can literally play them completely differently. What I mean by that is that in the case of a CT13, I essentially just steamroll my way through it. So I don't duck in and out of fire. I don't avoid most abilities. I basically just push right through, because the amount of damage that my character deals is more than enough to keep me alive against any kind of damage that I could be potentially taking, unless, for instance, I'm standing in fucking anomaly blades while I'm frozen and I'm getting shot by like 60 guys. You know, that's the only thing that'll kill me. Whereas in CT15, even though my character is very well geared and I have what I consider some best in slots, items, I still have to be careful. Like, for instance, that scenario that I just mentioned right now, you know, a captain with, for instance, freezing bullets and anomaly blades or something like that is a big fucking problem for me, because if he catches me out in the open and hits me with the freezing blades and the anomaly, the freezing bullets and the anomaly blades are on me and I don't have turrets out, or I don't have dots ticking somewhere that's giving me life, then that could most likely kill me. In fact, it did while I was recording this footage. So the difference between the two in terms of playstyle is that one is in the case of CT13 is basically zero effort, and that's partly due to the fact that my character essentially over levels the difficulty of that, but also just because it's a lot easier, and so therefore I can make more times, and as you can guess, then you can get more runs per hour. Whereas with the CT15 side, it's more difficult, and I kind of have to control more, control how I play more. And as I've mentioned before, challenge tier 15 feels very sweaty, feels very serious for me. I often, find that I can't watch something while I play it or something like that, because you just kind of have to be fucking on point. Is it possible that I could eventually build my character in a way that CT15 would be the same for me as CT13? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's easier for certain characters than others, but the way that I have my Technomancer right now, I wouldn't think so. But in any case, enough with all of that. Let's go and look at the data. So the first stack that we have here, you can see, so we've got the CT13 ones on the left and CT15 on the right. And right off the bat, you can see that I had the same amount of legendaries from both runs, even though I was able to do more expeditions in an hour on CT13 than I was able to do on CT15. And then if we look at the overall, materials and everything like that, you'll notice that the CT15 just in general looks more lucrative, right? Except for the fact that with some small mix between the leather and the iron and all of that. But I mean, that, especially if you're getting like a whole bunch of drop pod resources, that shouldn't be like the defining factor for you between choosing between challenge tiers. However, the if we then, and when I got this result, I thought to myself, but you know, maybe the sample data is just not good enough, and I'm just not, you know, maybe I just had some bad RNG on the fucking CT13 side, whatever. So let me try and extrapolate this some more. So I put another hour in on both sides, and this is what we get then. So again, you can see that I'm able to do far more runs, obviously, in CT13 than CT15, where now, because there's more time, and instead of 1 hour, it's 2 hours on each side, the gap starts growing. So we have 17 on the one side, 17 runs completed on the CT13, and we only have 11 on CT15. But however, now you can see the legendary gap starts growing. I could only get 9 legendaries to drop on the CT15 side, where I could get 13 to drop on the CT13 side. And you'll also now notice that the gap between the materials starts shrinking, because I'm just getting way more items now on the CT13 side, because I'm doing more expeditions. So I'm getting more leather, I'm getting more iron, I'm starting to see more titanium and all of that. Now there's one absolute to this, and that's the fact that higher CTs will always give you more dropout resources. That goes without saying. But again, the idea of this analysis and what I'm trying to bring to you here today is not the most efficient way to farm dropout resources, but rather the most efficient way to farm legendaries. Now, could it be that, you know, I just had really good RNG on the CT13 side and not so good RNG on the CT15 side? Yeah, sure. But here's the thing. In any kind of system like this, that is essentially like gambling with odds, the more chances you get to gamble gives the more chances that you could potentially win something. It's the same way how, you know, if you have 10 lottery tickets, you technically speaking have a higher chance of winning the lottery than you have if you have 5 lottery tickets. Both are RNG, you just have more chances on the other side. So CT13 is kind of like the sweet spot for me in terms of that the percentage chance for a legendary, which is 15%, is still decent enough. It's not nerfed too badly. It's not as good as the 25% on the CT15 side, but the benefit that I get with not having to play and concentrate and be at my best, and that I can make mistakes and I can stand in the fire and I can just run up to stuff and fucking shoot them and make everything explode, and you know run through a boom town in like 5 minutes and stuff like that, just makes CT13 far superior for me, especially at this moment in time as I'm at the game, in terms of farming legendaries. Now, it's difficult for me to say who this guide or who this information really is for, because again, I suppose it depends on where you are in the game. If you are able to only barely do CT13, then perhaps it would be better for you to do CT11, for instance, or something like that. But I do, however, think that if you're starting to get to the CT13, 14, 15 portion of the game, and you might find that, yeah, you can do CT15, but it's hard, and you usually die at least once, and you don't always make gold, you sometimes get silver, then I definitely think what you should try and do is you should try and run CT13s and see how that works out for you, and do a bunch of them. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. Any case, that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and especially if you've stuck around this long. Thanks again for all the support in the past videos during the last week and a half. It's been phenomenal. The growth on the channel has been phenomenal. I'm well on my way to 1,000 subscribers, and it's very much of this is due to the Outriders community. So I just want to again say thank you very much, and I do hope that this information helps at least one person. If you enjoy content like this, please go ahead and subscribe, like, comment down below, because there's a lot more coming to the channel like this, and subscribing helps me bring this to the channel quicker, better, and all of that. So that's it for today. Have a great morning, have a great afternoon, have a great evening, have a fucking awesome weekend, and until next time, fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me.